Matthew chapter 12 verse 43 says, "When an unclean spirit goes out of a man, he goes through dry places seeking rest and finds none. Then he says, I will return to my house from which I came. And when he comes, he finds it empty, swept, and put in order. Then he goes and takes with him 7 other spirits more wicked than himself. And they enter and dwell there, and the last state of the man is worse than the first. So he shall also be with this wicked generation." Now I want to talk briefly about the country Kenya today, where we are dealing with the wicked spirit, a wicked spirit of corruption and poor governance, a wicked spirit of oppression, a wicked spirit that keeps coming back. In Independence Day, we kicked out that wicked spirit in the colonialists, but it mutated and came back worse in the form of a political class that then developed colonialism by our fellow Kenyans. Then we did away with the same wicked spirit that had taken the form of a single-party dictatorship, but it came back in the form of tribal parties that were there just really to promote tribal movements that have continued to promote tribalism, nepotism, and consistently promoted bad governance. And we kicked out that evil spirit again when we got the new constitution. And we even have a whole chapter on integrity. But it came back when we chose to elect into office people who had been accused of crime. This is an opportunity for the Gen Zs to completely cast out this demon. But I'm afraid if we do not come up with a proper strategy to deal with bad governance, we will end up in the same place. Stating that all we want is to have institutions working, I can promise you that it will come back. They are leaving it empty, and even if it is swept and orderly, the weak point is the emptiness. Remember, the young Jeremiah was told by God that he had been set over the nations by God to root out and to pull down, to destroy and to throw down, to build and to plant. There were 2 processes, removing and replacement. The Gen Zs claim that they have a leader called the ghost of Jacob Juma. Maybe the strategy is to fight a spirit with a spirit, but the problem, the ghost may vanish. Then they are saying they are leaderless. This leaves room for pretenders to the throne to fly in and take advantage. They are saying they don't want dialogue. This leaves an empty space, an empty seat in the dialogue spaces, and literally anybody can take that seat. Yes, the strategy not to have a leader may work to ensure that there is nobody to bribe. However, on the other hand, it leaves room for anybody to purport to be a spokesman and an influencer of Gen Zs. There are a lot of people who are waiting to ride on the euphoria of the Gen Zs for their own selfish gain. Remember how the infiltration of the demonstrations happened and how Boniface was attacked physically because he attempted to tell Gen Zs that the time for Mandamano for that day was over after they had achieved their goal. Add this to the insults and the threats going on in the ranks of Gen Zs. My suggestion to the Gen Zs, come up with a leadership structure. And this leadership structure should not just be national. I believe that they should develop a leadership structure that runs right from the sublocation to the whole nation. Even then, remember not to take a wrong definition of leadership that Kenya has worked with. Leadership is not position. Management is what depends on legitimacy founded on position. Leadership is influence, and I believe not just influence like social media, but influence that creates solutions and creates synergy. So even then, Gen Zs aren't leaderless. They are people who can provide a sense of direction. This leadership structure is important because leadership structure is what will hold the movement together. If you don't have that leadership structure, then you will have people appearing, claiming they represent Gen Zs and their interests. Then they are called traitors, and tomorrow another group appears. Remember, vision rests on leadership. And if leadership is there, the vision will slowly but surely die out because there will be other leaders who will slowly lure away your constituency. Remember, the other side has leadership. He has double leadership. If you don't have leadership, you will slowly but surely lose your team. There must be leadership that can well define the vision clearly and not allow the pretenders to define the vision. A well-defined vision will galvanize the group, will define what the end product will look like, and will help ensure that there is greater accountability, which is what you're asking for the government. Develop a leadership and then develop a strategy. If there is any engagement, what form does it take? I know that there is fear of infiltration of the leadership, but that risk is a risk you run, because even today there are people you are accusing of being bribed, and they will continue being bribed until the last of them. It is either they will be bribed or they will be hurt. And many will give in. When you mandate a group of people who can be able to engage, those people will be able to depend on your protection and thoroughly push your agenda, and over time be held accountable to you. If you don't, your movement will slowly but surely die, and we will be back with our evil spirit. That is my take.